What is weight bearing? When people get given the diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia, they're told better start strength training and better start weight bearing. But what do they mean by weight bearing? I'm Margaret Martin, registered physiotherapist with Melio Guide, and I'm here to explain to you what weight bearing is and how it can be used to help build better bones. When we're talking about weight bearing, it is the body's weight in contact with the ground. When I'm just standing, I have just the force of gravity, so 1g. The more we can then add loading, which means if I'm walking and I'm stopping myself from falling, there's that motion of coming into contact with the ground, then walking is about 1.2 Gs of force. But my bones are having to interact with the ground. The ground is pushing up on my leg, and my leg muscles have to, stop myself from collapsing. And so they're working together, and that force produced by the muscles vibrating and the ground forces coming up through the bone is what we call weight bearing. Now, that can happen with your hands too. When you fall, to stop yourself, you are now weight bearing through your wrists and through your hands. When you do a push-up, and when you often will see people do explosive push-ups, whether that's from the wall or from the ground, planks, moving through your planks, all of these things is weight bearing through the upper body. I love when people do both weight bearing through the lower body and upper body, because we have to keep all our bones strong. So not just from the quick sudden step or being able to then build up from squatting to jumping to hopping, all these things that are great weight bearing for our bones, but also to be able to protect ourselves from a fall, because you don't want the first weight bearing that you've done through your arms to be when you're actually, catching yourself on the floor, because your bones will likely not be strong enough to resist that. That's where the weight bearing, the ability to take your body weight or any other external weight that you have on you and bear it through your body. It's not always just with aerobic movement and aerobic exercise. You can also have weight bearing strength exercises. So we have weight bearing strength exercises such as when you do squats, when you do step-ups, and as I mentioned earlier, when you do push-ups, planks. These are all weight bearing exercises, but that are promoting strengthening as well. In the medical field, weight bearing becomes very important when we're talking fracture healing or looking after our bones or caring for our bones. And that's because with healing, we know after a fracture that weight bearing is actually a good way to help the body to heal. It used to be 37 years ago when I graduated as a physical therapist. We kept people in bed for a little while after their total hip or total knee replacement. It was very gradual. Now they're finding get people up faster, it starts to help the healing process. When it comes to weight bearing, listening to the prescription of your surgeon or your doctor becomes very important after a fracture or any type of sprain or strain, because the amount of weight bearing will help the healing process. Too much can hurt it. Too little can also delay healing. When it comes to weight bearing, there's a big spectrum. There's everything from non-weight bearing, so no weight being taken through the limb, to feather weight, meaning you can just touch your toe, it helps you with balance, but you're not to put extra weight through the limb. And then you can go to partial weight bearing, and partial weight bearing generally go from about 10% all the way to about 80% weight bearing. And at that point, then you get permission to start doing more full weight bearing. And even when it comes to full weight bearing, you're still going to be given directions in terms of easy walking versus having permission to run, then permission to jump, and permission to hop. And all that is because the weight bearing or the amount of forces that are going through the limb will change, and that will impact the health of your new joint or your fracture healing or sprain or strain. And so I hope that this video has given you a broad understanding of what Weight bearing is how it's considered in the medical community as well as in the sports world. So I'm Margaret, Familiar Guide. Thanks so much for tuning in.